4Minutes is finally here. I am so happy for Bible. I love this actor down. Now let me tell you, Beyond the Cloud, if that's the name of the production company, they are really doing it different. I have been saying in a lot of the podcasts where I talk about BLs specifically that I've been wanting more challenging scripts to come up in the forefront, and I want to see some different stuff. See some freshness in this genre because I believe it's capable of so much more. And this show, I think, is really it. But let me get into it a little bit more. Hi, I'm Monique. I am the host of Off by Purple Art podcast, where I talk to you about K-dramas, C-dramas, BTS, and so much more. And the so much more is sometimes BLs. I do love a good BL. 2024 has been interesting for BLs. A lot of projects that I actually personally want to see are probably not going to debut until very late in this year, like Jack and Joker. That's one that I've been anticipating for a very long time, and I'm happy that it's got a release date in September. And there's definitely ones that I'm interested in that will most likely air in 2025. But 2024 in particular hasn't been, for me, my personal opinion, hasn't been the strongest. One of the top players I think so far has been unknown, and it's not surprising to me that it's a Taiwanese production because Taiwanese BLs seem to usually bring it for me personally. But I do know that Beyond the Cloud has been pushing the envelope a little bit, and I think that some of their recent projects have been really, really interesting. One show in particular that I didn't review on the podcast, but I really enjoyed was DFF, Dead Friend Forever, and it completely was chaotic, off the walls. I had my gripes about the way the show ended, but it does twist really well. I was really surprised by it, especially as someone who's not really into horror slasher type properties. And I think DFF kind of took the label BL and really expanded upon it, because it was less about the BL and more about men who happen to be in relationships with each other but also happen to be really multifaceted, complicated people. And it was just really interesting and genre pushing, and I love that. 4Minutes is definitely something that has been in the works for a while. As I mentioned in my open, I love Bible. I think Bible is awesome. Kin and Porsche, whether you loved it or hate it, you gotta give it to the main principal actors in that show. And Bible was definitely a standout for me. He is just so good at what he does. I honestly don't know how he made Vegas such a compelling and charismatic character that you're completely captivated with, but he did it by the sheer talent that he has. He has a lot of talent in his body. He also happens to be extraordinarily good looking. So yes, there is a bit of shallowness at play because I enjoy looking at him, but he is just a strong enough performer that I most likely will check out any project with him in it going forward, especially by what I saw that he was able to do with the character of Vegas. Now in 4Minutes, this is a long ramble getting to the point of the show itself. He's definitely playing a much different archetype, but the show is so interesting. He is playing the lead character Great in this, and Great has the ability of seeing 4 minutes into the future. Now, why he has this particular ability is unclear, but the show kind of teases. And I'm going to be going into some spoilers, but it's going to be pretty surface level. But he can see 4 minutes into the future, and while we don't get a clear picture as to why, the show is suggesting that he is not the only one afflicted with this condition, and it might be the fact that for whatever reason, a lot of people in Thailand are having near-death experiences, and with those near-death experiences are entrapped in this phenomenon and being able to see into their future. Why exactly is it 4 minutes? And why exactly is it specific events that are triggering this reaction? We don't know. But the show, the way it's filmed already, it is very high production values. It just looks crisp. So you can tell a little money has definitely been spent in this show. It is also really good at creating tension with music. A lot of the stylistic choices that the show makes puts you right in the shoes of Great. And Great goes through some shit in the first couple episodes, at the very least. One of the first examples that he gets of his power coming into play is in a hit and run. And it's so interesting how they played it, because in the original timeline of the show, he's driving his car, he's having an argument with his friend, and this friend happens to have played an actor, the actor who plays his friend also was in Dead Friend Forever, and he played an irksome character in that show, and he's just as annoying as ever in this show, but I'll get into that in a little bit. But his friend's calling him on the phone, he's talking on the phone while driving, speeding, not really giving a good goddamn, and suddenly a woman appears out of nowhere and he ends up hitting her, and he takes off, and then some weird phenomenon happens, and the show uses incredible, amazing CGI, FX, whatever you want to call it, and you see him go right back to 4 minutes before this event occurred, and it spooks him the hell out, and he goes back through the exact same scene, is much more careful of a driver, and this time he does hit her, but it's a lot less impact because he's expecting it, and that's when the show really kicks off its trajectory. It's also dealing with like some flash forwards into the future. There is the surgeon character, who I think is played by an actor named Jess, who will be the love interest for Bible's character, Great, as well. He's involved in this, and we get some flashes of the potential coupling of these two characters together, and they also have a chance meeting that underscores everything. We're also seeing some foreshadowing with the surgeon that he will probably come into a lot of trouble. One of the first scenes that opens the show is that there's a hooded figure that ends up attacking the surgeon, and it's left off very ambiguously, and I think us as the audience have to kind of piece together everything else. We're also introduced to, I believe Korn is the name, Great's brother, who is alumni of Kim Porch as well, the actor, and he plays kind of like the nerdy guy with the glasses who does that mini striptease and like pours like alcohol over his chest. His character is very interesting as well. He seems to be more of the brother in the scenario that the family puts a lot of expectation on. He's taking over the family. He's primed to have taken over the family business, but at the last minute, his father basically yanks him and says, no, you're actually going to oversee this illegal gambling ring that I have. And it's really weird and shady and really seedy, and it shows that there's really weird family dynamics. It seems like Great and Korn have a good relationship with each other as like half brothers, but for whatever reason that the mother and the father don't seem to be the best of people, and that is of course causing a lot of familial tension. So there's a lot of that's coming up the surface, which I thought was interesting. So the first episode gave us a lot to chew off of. Then we get into episode 2, and oh my god, let me just say, there was a scene actually in the first episode that was extremely provocative and graphic and scene, which I was not anticipating as well. And I have to say, Beyond the Cloud really does not mess around when it comes to like the actual NC scenes. For me, in BLs, I care about the overall structure and the story, and I want to see engaging actors. Yes, I love to see good-looking people have amazing sexual tension and chemistry, but yeah, I just want to see something different, something that's going to challenge me to think a little bit. This show definitely does that, but that scene took me out, and I was like, dear God, this is episode 1, and Beyond the Cloud seems to do this a lot, where they'll have the scene and the story play out, and then bam, they'll just have like ass cheeks. It's like, what the hell? It's so funny. But yeah, in episode 2, we get even more players into the story, and we get familiar faces again from the DFF cast. We get to see Corn's, I guess you'd call him like a sugar baby. And he is a hooded figure in the beginning of this episode, and he's seen bludgeoning someone with a rock. And the show leaves that up in the air as well. And for one thing, Corn and his relationship with this sugar baby is not really the greatest. They have this really crazy NC scene, and it seems like the sugar baby is all about Corn, but Corn does not seem to really have a particular like for him. He just seems to use him to kind of blow off some steam. And in addition, he also is engaged to a woman. And in episode 2, we actually see them get down and dirty a little bit as well. And again, we're seeing more ass cheeks. And I'm like, this show is so friggin' wild. But just as the show is not the most subtle when it comes to like the NC scenes, there is a couple of amazing shots that I really enjoyed, which is the first real interactions between Great and the surgeon. And there's a particular scene where the surgeon is kind of buffing up, his shoulders, he's fixing his hair, whatever, because he sees that Great has come into the hospital and he needs some stitches on his forehead. And the way the show shot their initial reactions to one another and started to build the story just by their body language, that there is an attraction between them. And mind you, we've already seen that Great has had some future premonitions about the surgeon, and they are very intimate and very close. And just seeing how the show kind of plays with sensuality and how the doctor kind of approaches Great is very interesting to me, because there is an overarching mystery, and I feel like the surgeon character has so much more to him than we realize, that he gets very attached to Great very quickly in the show. And while I will admit Bible is a drop dead gorgeous man, so same, like I don't blame the guy for being extremely fascinated by him and wanting to get to know him right off the bat, but he almost seems too personally interested in him, and he seems to just show up at odd times where he shouldn't just show up to interact with Great. And there's just a knowing way that he looks at him that I feel like there's a bigger mystery at play. And definitely where the second episode leaves off, there is definitely a lot about that character that we haven't been shown yet. And I'm barely just scratching the surface about this show. But there's just so many interesting characters in here. There's a lot of familiar faces. Definitely, it's like a reunion for the Dead Friends Forever cast. Definitely with the Kin Porsche connection as well. But I love that there's so much mystery, and that the characters that we're being introduced to are not being introduced to us by accident. They're not throwaway characters. It seems like every character that we've been shown so far has some deeper meaning and connection, but we can't figure out the puzzle piece just yet. The show is dropping little information here and there, and then we are to draw our own conclusions. But I love that already, that the show is challenging us so much. We're only 2 episodes in. By the time that I have finished editing and filming this podcast, we'll be on to episode 3 already. But I just am so intrigued by it, and yeah, I'm enjoying the spiciness of the show, but I just love the production value. I love that it's got such an entangled web, and I just love that Bible gets to be the lead man in the show. I think he's great. I am rooting for his success, and I am just excited that this is a BL that's leading us into like the fall of 2024. It just bodes well, in my opinion. I hope the show continues to do well, and I hope it speaks to the fact that we're going to get more challenging, more interesting BLs going forward in the future. But you let me know. What do you think? Have you been watching 4 Minutes so far? What are your thoughts about it? I think it's pretty damn cool, to be honest. So let me know your comments down below in the comment section if you're watching this via YouTube. If you're listening via Spotify or Apple Podcasts, I love you. As always, I love you and appreciate you so much. Till the next episode. Bye.